these are lectures about markets. So rather than decisions of individuals about their lives, this is sort of bringing in the idea that in the end, the decisions you can take are constrained by what markets are available to you, and try to understand how those markets work. So we're going to talk a lot about markets, but I think the place where we start is sort of, in some sense, very fundamental to thinking about what we think of as poverty. And I think one of the very key aspects of poverty is the sense of fragility, of not being able to kind of control your life in ways that you might want to. So, and that's just, of course, many senses of the word fragility, and not all of them are captured by the idea of risk, but a lot of them are. And so I think we're going to start by talking about the fact that people have both, I think, income and expenditures which are unpredictable. So what are sort of obvious examples of that? What are obvious examples of risk that you would face if you were a poor person in a developing country?
If you're a sustenance farmer, whether there's rain that year and a good harvest.
Okay, that's a good one, yeah.
Medical health emergency.
Right, so, and why would that be a specific problem? I mean, health is, I assume, is a problem everywhere. Why is that more of a problem in a developing country?
Lack of access to care or insurance.
Right, so you may have to pay for it out of your pocket rather than have some social system guarantee it. Somebody else had their hand? Yeah.
If there's like corruption or poor property laws, like the chance that whatever you have will be taken away from you the next day.
That's right. That's another one. Someone else? Yeah.
Uncertainty about your employment status. So you could be employed at the moment, but that isn't really stable. And if you become unemployed, then that's a huge shock.
Right. So, but is that more true? Why would you think that's more true in developing countries than the question we want to pose is, what are specific risks that are more salient in the lives of people in developing countries, poor people in developing countries? So you think unemployment risk is bigger? Why would that be the case? I mean, it may well be true, but
perhaps agriculture is more sensitive to price changes, which is volatile.
So yeah, so I think one possible answer to the question of why unemployment is a bigger risk is that its industries might be more volatile. Another issue which is, I think, also important is that there is very little employment protection or any other kinds of social security. So when you lose a job, even in the US, which tends to be a very, let's say, not very much into labor protection, you typically get some months of income protected by the social security system. So there is some way in which you get social security payments once you lose your job. So job loss is just much more costly if there isn't a social security system. I think that's the first order reason why that might be a bigger source of risk in developing countries. Any other reasons why you think, any other sources of risk which you think are more important in developing countries for poor people than in, let's say, the US or in an OECD country? Yeah.
Political instability, chance for conflict.
Okay, so that's another one, absolutely.
I think another could be just like lack of access to information at all times. So if you're a farmer, you don't necessarily know what the prices, like market prices for what you're selling. So information asymmetry.
I see.
In a risky situation where you might be getting cheated by the middleman.
Right. So you may very well, or even if you're not cheated, you might maybe information allows you to adjust your decision to your circumstances. So you might grow potatoes in a year when potatoes are going to be really cheap or something, or pick the wrong crop or something. So that's a good one. Yeah.
Lack of access to savings or credit markets.
Right. So that in a sense is not so much about. I think you're right that that's fundamental, but in some ways that's less about risk, sources of risk, than of lack of risk mitigation. Now those are related ideas, but it's perhaps worth keeping that separate, because in some ways that's the answer. And the question is, why isn't it? So where we'll go is, so we'll go from starting to analyze risk to getting to the point of asking, why aren't risks better mitigated by markets? And those are obviously related ideas, but I think we're going to, right now I was more focusing on things that are sort of come from the environment.